north, west Maryland.
Yeah.
You know, geographically better than I do. So either like Lanham or like PG County or Germantown.
I'm not sure. I've never heard about the Germantown, but I know the idea of gentrification is very prominent in Southeast DC,
Right.
or anywhere in DC for that matter. It's just a part of it. In fact, I have friends that are in DC in the political division where they are at some point planning in the next few years to change the city mayor. And I have that person that is running for the city DC mayor. And a lot of the problems that they're finding is that the current DC mayor is overdeveloping, and there's a certain only small list of developers that are allowed to build. And with that development in real estate there, it's pushing out these families, and now they don't know where to go. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with you.
Okay. Kind of inside your scoop.
A little bit. Yeah.
That I can't get into.
You can always ask me.
Okay. That's very notable. What about Virginia?
Northern Virginia?
Or Virginia in general? Because you work the entire DMV area, right? What do you think is prominent currently right now?
I mean, for sure, Northern Virginia. Northern Virginia is such a different whole new market.
Yeah.
It's a seller's market, period, in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. Specific to Northern Virginia, I found that there's a higher demand of houses, so there's more buyers. The price per square foot on townhomes and just single families, anything in Northern Virginia is a lot more expensive. And we know that Amazon's coming.
Right.
Yeah. So, of course, the demand is even higher because people are trying to get in before Amazon comes.
Right.
So, for example, we talked about Alexandria.
Yeah.
It's a great location because of the price point. It can still fit a certain budget. And I think Falls Church, Fairfax, Arlington, any of those locations in Northern Virginia, it's just going to increase in terms of the real estate prices and appreciation.
Do you think that will exceed the average of 3% per year?
Absolutely,
Yeah?
yeah.
Okay.
It really depends on the demand of the amount of buyers, and we see that right now. In fact, any family that's looking at Northern Virginia, they want to move in ready, renovated, and it's just move-in ready type of property. There are at least 6 buyers willing to pay for that and more, and it pushes up the demand. And in fact, I was just am currently working with a client in Northern Virginia who wants to submit an offer, but the hurdles that we find is that they necessarily don't want to get into a bidding war because they want to find a great deal.
Right.
But it's very hard to find a great deal if you want a move-in ready house because there are other buyers and other people that want to pay a move-in ready house for way more than you will.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about the availability of the not move-in ready, like more of the investor ready house? What's the availability on those?
There's always
You
plenty of
always find them
on the market and also off market. Sure.
So when you say off market, how do you find that out?
So you can find that out through networking.
Okay.
Yeah. So of course we have your local real estate investment meetups or get-togethers, and some of those in those networking events, there's wholesalers that want to be networked with cash investors because what wholesalers would do, and also cash investors or flippers, they would find sellers that are motivated that just want to offload the property. You ever seen those signs? We buy houses for cash.
Right.
Yeah. So those are the investors looking for off-market sellers, where they don't have to go to the MLS.
Right.
So that way, it can be a better deal. Like for example, 10 to 15, or maybe even 20% less than it would be, versus if it was on the market.
Okay. Where do you find these meetups?
You can Google it. So I've been to several. One great one in the area is just called an REI. So in Northern Virginia, there's many of them. You could just simply Google it and find those local groups, and they happen at least once a month, and some of them even once every 2 weeks. I think it's the more networking you do to find those off-market deals, you're going to find them.
What would someone expect once they go to these REI group meetings?
You don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So what I've found with just keeping an ear out with the friends that are going to the meetups or the events is that it's largely landlords, or it could be flippers, or it could be wholesalers. It's a mixed bag. Right. So it's really, it's more so like it's up in the air. they'll probably have like a plan or a discussion what they're going to go over.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's your bread and butter rentals, landlords that want to purchase and then have it rented out and build a portfolio like that.
Okay. So is it kind of like they meet up at a conference room, conference hall like DC, or kind of like at a bar or something like that, casual? Like what kind of atmosphere do they kind of jump into?
Usually hotel conference room, exactly.
Okay. And you just jump in and talk to people?
Yeah, it's usually like $5 to either enter just for, the rent of the conference room. And then people start sharing ideas. It's an open forum.
Interesting.
Unless you go to one of those, sponsored ads on Facebook where it says, come here for a free real estate renovation selling class.
What are those specifically? People tell me to go to that and I just said no.
I mean, is it free when you're invited?
Yeah.
Okay, then you can, those are just seminars. They're free seminars, but of course at the end they will have their value that they give, which is, hey, if this interests you, we can have a class for you to learn how to find the homes, learn the funding, how are you going to analyze that purchase, and then what profits should you be looking at when you're selling.
I'm more on the side. I'm very skeptical sometimes when it comes to like big, large group meeting type of things.
Yeah, so in that case, a nice local real estate networking group would be even more perfect for you.
How often do those happen?
Well, I guess it depends because it's all depending on the host. So maybe like once a month. There's just a lot out there.
Yeah. Did you ever host one?
What?
Did you ever host one?
I thought of it. No, I thought of it. I just haven't come around it.
So I feel like you have a very close niche group of realtors that are very well knowledgeable, and you guys have personalities to make it big. And that's just me seeing from a third point of view. I think that would be awesome.
I think, I agree with you. There's so many ways to go about this business, but I think the more honed in and focused you are with finding that niche in real estate that you can do, you become better at it. You bring so much more value and not be as bread and butter.
So when you say niche, what is your niche?
My niche is largely with residential real estate, specific to first-time home buyers, move-up home buyers, first-time home sellers, and of course, some investments for sure.
Okay. So one question I ask like all my guests is like, who are the top 5 people that you associate with, and how do they affect you? Could you answer that? You don't have to say
Top 5.
names. Yeah.
Could be less.
Could be less.
Yeah, very, very
Okay.
close.
Give a small circle.
Very, very small circle.
Okay. If you were to name like how they're associated to you, what would you say?
Significant other, mother, brother,
That's it. Wow. Okay. That's really honed in. Right?
It's so small. Yeah.
So it's like basically blood, or like
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the more, it's very easy to listen to a lot of people, but the closer and closer that number of mouths that you listen to,
Right.
the more focused you can be.
Eliminate distractions.
Correct. Everybody has their own opinion, and you have to kind of like feel for who you can fit in terms of what their message is. Because when you listen to that message, you can be going to one direction, but then when you listen to another direction, then of course it's not. It's going to affect you differently. Well, I'll tell you this: depending on who's watching, if it's an aspiring entrepreneur, I think that I'm just starting out.
Yeah.
Even though like you said, you found that I'm good at this or whatever the case is, I thank you for that. But I'm always keeping my head down. I want to make sure that I'm always a good student. I'm never going to say I'm an expert at this, expert at that. I know I'm not perfect. I know I don't know anything. Because there's no ceiling with this industry. In fact, with my local real estate business, it's a lot of fun for me and I enjoy it. But then I started branching out last year, towards the end of the year, into international real estate. And I think that when I started putting it out there, it's like, oh man, that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There's way more to this industry. And when I started traveling abroad for work, for real estate, specific to Asia Pacific, then that's when I learned like, oh man, I thought I was thinking big and doing a little bit bigger. But then once I saw the investment side of real estate investments, then it was just a whole other beast. And when it opened my eyes, I had like this perception on certain things locally. And then once I traveled abroad, it's like there's so much that you can accomplish. And I think I'm just starting out. I think where I am, and any person that's an aspiring realtor or aspiring entrepreneur, never underestimate what you're capable of, because there is so much more ahead, and you can continue to grow if you so choose to.
So let's get into the scaling. It's not obviously that you're into your numbers. In the first year of your realtor, I know normally it's very hard to do it. It's just start up and start from nothing. Could you say how much revenue you could make off of that?
Yeah, sure.
Ballpark?
Sure, I can touch on sales volume.
Okay.
So when I was a full-time nurse, my first year, licensed, I sold 4 houses, of which two of which is my mom and myself. So it doesn't really count. So I had 2 sales.
Right.
And so that was like $1 million in sales volume.
Okay, in the first year.
First year.
Okay.
Second year was licensed. I pulled the trigger. I went part-time nursing, and I went part-time real estate. It was very terrifying. But I sold $4 million in real estate sales. $4 million.
How many houses is that?
It was 14. So I more than doubled my second year, and I was a part-time nurse.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then my first year full-time.
Last year.
Correct. Was last year. So I sold 33 houses, which was $11 million in total sales locally, not including internationally.
Okay. So in terms of that networking, how did you build your network and find these sales? Because I know a couple like startup realtors. They put their information out there, but they don't know how to convert actually.
Sure. Yeah. So I've always believed that you should work with the people that already trust you.
Right.
Because the hardest part of this business is getting people to trust you.
Right.
But the people that already trust you are the people that you know. So I think you should always start with your friends and their family members and ask them for support. Look, I just started my business. I'm super excited. I'm looking for families to help. I know you trust me. You can count on me when we were doing this transaction, etc. So that is probably the best way in, just working with the people that you already know. And then after that, when you gain, because they're also forgiving.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, the friends that I was so lucky to help and allow me to be a part of what they were doing,
right.
They were forgiving for things I didn't know. But I always found it for them. But when you have the best interest for them, that's usually just enough for them to trust you and use you in the first year or the first purchase, whatever it is, or sale.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Something I do with stocks is like I always invest in companies that I understand, like business structure or business.
You trust them, right?
Yeah. And I guess it's similar to what my style of investing is as well. And I guess it's a similar concept that you do in terms of sales. But you build a very good brand around your own name in terms of figuring out who to sell to. And I think it's more of personality, personally, how I feel I did it. But how you did it was just outreach.
Yeah.
Basically, just almost like dropping your ego and asking for help.
Absolutely.
Even though you're helping them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a saying, like, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I didn't really believe in that.
Right.
I was honest with people. I said, I'm a part-time nurse, and I really want to get up my real estate business, and I'm looking for family help. You can trust me, because I do the same thing with the surgery side.
Yeah.
And me being so honest and transparent, people love that. Versus if I wasn't making, let's just say I didn't make sales.
Right.
And, I just said I have this I have this house going on, blah, blah, blah. But actually there's no sales. And that's fine. It depends on the personality. But I always believe that if you're honest and transparent with people, and you're genuine and authentic, they'll hire you. They will see how you just want to help them.
Yeah, I definitely want to speak on that for sure when it comes to having a side gig first. Like, you don't have to go, like, dive in the water on the deep end immediately. Because you kind of, like, wean your way in. It took you 2 years of part-time work to, like, okay, I think I'm done with nursing and I'm all in. I'm ready.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just more of how did you build that self-awareness to figure that out, other than the accident? It was really just an accident.
You have to have a predictable business. That's the tough thing about being fully commissioned.